The Holy Gospel according to Matthew.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Jesus said, "You are the salt of the earth. But if salt has lost its taste, how can its saltiness be restored? It is no longer good for anything, but is thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A city built on a hill cannot be hid. No one, after lighting a lamp, puts it under the bushel basket, but on the lampstand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish, but to fulfill. For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth pass away, not one letter, not one stroke of a letter will pass from the law until all is accomplished. Therefore, whoever breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called least in the dominion of heaven. But whoever does them and teaches them will be called great in the dominion of heaven. For I tell you, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and Pharisees, you will never enter the dominion of heaven." Hear what the Spirit is saying to the church. You are the light of the world. You are the salt of the earth. It's almost impossible not to break into a song from Godspell when you hear these words. It's stuck in your head now, isn't it? It's stuck in my head all week. Welcome to my life. But for as peppy as Stephen Schwartz's musical setting of the 5th chapter of Matthew is, I've also found myself asking, what happens when we don't feel very much like the salt of the earth? What happens in those moments when we do indeed lose our saltiness? I don't think it's much of a stretch to call to mind those moments when we're simply not feeling it, whatever it is. Our jobs, our volunteering, our protesting, even our church going. So when Jesus tells us, "You are the salt of the earth," I suspect that there are times when it's easier to simply throw up our arms in despair or surrender. Then there's the metaphor of salt itself. Sort of an unusual choice for Jesus to pull out of thin air, isn't it? But the uses for this condiment that I'm guessing most, if not all of us, have in our kitchens are many. In fact, by one count, there are over 14,000 uses for salt. Or so says Mark Kurlansky in his book, Salt, A World History. 484 pages. I'm sure you can get it from the library. I haven't read it. Salt, though, he says, even has ties to major events in world history. From the salt tax that inspired Gandhi's movement for Indian independence, to a salt shortage that in part helped fuel the American Revolution. And salt, despite doctors' and dietitians' warnings, is also crucial for the human body to propel oxygen through our blood. Quite frankly, we simply cannot live without it. Likewise, a good chef will tell you that salt is crucial for cooking, bringing out and enhancing the other seasonings and flavors of a dish. The ancient world, too, had an understanding of the multiple uses and connotations of salt, from sacrificial rites and a symbol of covenant faithfulness to food preservation and seasoning. Jesus' saying, then, would have evoked many of these layers of meaning among his hearers. And yet, I think an equally important piece of this simple statement, "You are the salt of the earth," is the first word, you. Now, in translation in English, it's impossible to notice, but in the original Greek of the New Testament, that you is plural, as in you all. And the very fact that the Greek text includes that pronoun itself is emphatic. You all are the salt of the earth. This grammatical nuance, taken together with all of these layers of meaning, this passage might be rendered something like, you are all salt for each other, enhancing one another's being, including and especially when you don't feel very salty yourself. You are salt for each other when you carry one another's burdens, tangibly reminding each other of God's love for all people. This back and forth of seasoning and being seasoned is part of the life of faith. Indeed, it goes without saying that life itself is full of its ups and downs. Life is very rarely lived in a straight, uneventful line from point A to point B, but it probably looks a little more chaotic. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, though, but quite the opposite. In her latest book, Leslie Hazelton poses the question, what is so very wrong about losing one's way? She compares wandering through life to a physical journey or a road trip. Sure, there's a certain sense of security in knowing exactly where you are on your GPS device, but it also precludes any chance of meandering off the main path. In other words, to avoid the chance of getting lost also eliminates any possibility for adventure or spontaneity. And in so doing, Hazelton goes on, she says, you leave no room for the original meaning of happiness, a variant of hap, as in fortune or chance, a matter of openness to the fortuitous, to the unexpected, to moments of grace. Moments we enter feeling less than salty, but which we leave having been seasoned, enhanced, carried by another. You are salt for each other. I'll admit that the last few months haven't left me feeling very much like the salt of the earth. The day after the election, we opened our doors at Augustana, offering our sanctuary as a safe space for those who might be feeling scared or angry or vulnerable with the election results. That day, difficult as it was, seems to have paled in comparison to the past couple of weeks, where executive orders have threatened the health care of millions, the sacred lands of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe, and the safety of our refugee and immigrant communities. I didn't feel very much like the salt of the earth this past week when one of the ESL teachers here asked me to photocopy some immigration paperwork for her students. And I was suddenly confronted by the fact that this harmful new policy was affecting actual people that I see every day outside my office. It made me feel both angry and powerless. But also this past week, along with Pastor Jan and a handful of other Augustana folks and about 1,500 others from across the city, we gathered on Tuesday nights in Turner Park for a candlelight vigil to hear firsthand the stories of refugees and the witness of our local religious leaders speaking out against unjust immigration policies and reminding us that our faith compels us to welcome the stranger. And peppered throughout the crowd were specks of light, whether from actual candles or maybe the flashlights on someone's cell phone, shining all the more brightly as the sun set and the park grew darker. People literally holding light, being light. It was a life-giving experience to be surrounded by that cloud of witnesses, being light and being salt for each other. And not only for each other, but also as a witness for the city, for the country, for the world. Amidst fearful times that threaten our most vulnerable communities, we hear Jesus' words of promise that we are the salt of the earth, for the sake of each other, with the capacity to resist.